Yes, that was Maxine complained that she, that.
Was put in the men's restroom.
She was put in the men's
Well,
restroom.
that's
Yeah.
true, she wasn't put in the men's restroom, but some of her own people used the restroom in front of her is what happened.
We have seen the correspondence between Mrs. Smith and Mr. Holloman on that.
It really didn't amount
No.
to a whole lot, but that was a kind of a real unique situation to be in, and it could have been extremely explosive.
Why wasn't it?
Well, I think we worked out something. There's a philosophy known as a Chinese philosophy, and it has several aspects to it. And one of them is no ball. They liken it to a baseball game. And one of them is no ball. That is, you got a group of people that don't know exactly what kind of ball they want to play, and you're better off throwing them your ball and play your game, you know, than you ought to play their game. It's just, and there's another thing that people don't consider involved in this. And this philosophy I heard from a Chinese PhD of all people. He says you don't necessarily have to solve a problem. A lot of times you can de-exist a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what I did. I didn't solve the sanitation strike, but I de-existed the problem at City Hall at that point in time.
Were you ever surprised into that period that the leaders were in fairly good control of the men for that? Did you expect more outbreaks on the daily marches or anything like that than actually happened?
No, I wasn't, because I operated when I was leading the marches from that base, and you have to realize that the good people, the good leaders, don't want violence, you know, and they will do everything they can to prevent violence. Of course, unfortunately, a lot of times they can't, but anyway, that's...
Do you recall when the kids started coming into the situation?
Well, they were in and out from various and sundry times. We had some of the militants that would come in, and some of the leaders ejected some of the militants themselves. You know, they would get them out.
Did you feel any uneasiness about those teenagers? I mean, was there? This is the day of the arrest at City Hall. What day was that?
Well, you mean outside there?
Outside, the 300 that were out there.
No, I didn't. No. I personally didn't, because we were going to lock the doors the minute the last one left City Hall. And if they wandered up and down the streets, I didn't particularly care. You know, I didn't want to put them in jail. This was not. I didn't consider this my mission. But I realized they wanted to be put in jail, and that's why I worked the strategy out of saying, you know, come on, let's walk over. We can accomplish this real easy without any, you know, I can't settle your sanitation strike is the approach that I took. But I've got a problem here, you know, and if we can accommodate one another, well, let's do it, you know. I have no argument with you, and you have no argument with me. And so there's no use for us to argue. You're arguing with the city council and with City Hall. They're the ones that can solve your problem. I can't.
A couple of people have told us that when the ministers would be in contact with the police in various ways, you know, talking to them and sort of thing, that they would say things like, why don't you stand with us? Because obviously if we get a raise, you also will get a raise. If they raise the bottom, they'll have to raise the whole scale of city employees.
Yeah, I heard this remark on several occasions.
Was that true? If they had...
oh, I don't... well...
I mean, was there logic to that?
There may be some logic to it. I suspect if you raise the lower level, that all the levels will raise to some degree, but I don't... the police, and this is what makes the police unique, I don't think they can afford to become involved. I don't think they should ever be involved in either side of the issue, because if they could be involved with this side, then they could be involved with the other side. And where does the thing start? I think they should try to hew to this neutral path, and this is the whole idea of criminal justice, is to stay in this middle without taking sides.
May I ask you a question about police unions and the unionization of, well, the firefighters here, for instance, have been unionized since. How do you feel personally about police unions?
Well, I think unions per se, if you want to really look at them in depth, are a very bad thing. Now, let's explore this a little deeper. they are a very good thing also. But the point is, and what brings about unionism, is when management fails to respond to the needs of the people, they go buy them some representation, and that's a form of a union. With proper management, there's no necessity for a union because management takes care of the people and treats them fairly to begin with. And of course, the unions in this country grew out of the sweatshops in New England with the autocratic administration. That's where it all started. So, but in a police department, a union uniquely, I don't think, has any place in a police department because of the sensitivity of the, and they could have, and they do have an effect because most major departments are unionized.
Oh, are they?
Simply because of the void in management has brought it about, just like it did in factories and every place else. But this is most unfortunate, and it shouldn't be, because unions play power politics, and I don't think power politics has any place in law enforcement.